And welcome to Inside Out Southwest, stories and investigations from where you live. Tonight, the Southwest on the slide. We head skyward to see why extreme weather is threatening the nation's most popular trail.
The problem is, it could get worse. It's certainly not likely to get much better.
Smith, and this is Inside Out Southwest. You won't need reminding that last year was the second wettest on record, and the results have been dramatic for people and for the landscape around us. We've been assessing the impact, starting with one of the Southwest's greatest natural assets. At 630 miles, the Southwest Coast Path is Britain's longest national trail, and its most popular. Wear and tear is a given. Millions tread this path every year. But now the route is under an unprecedented onslaught from the weather. There have been 21 serious landslips in the last 6 weeks, compared with just 11 in the whole of the past 5 years. And that's led to closures and diversions. The coastline, like here in Dorset in December, is on the move. And nowhere more so than in the south. This is where most of the recent landslips have been. So how bad is it, and is there worse to come? We sent geographer Dr. Matt Telfer from the University of Plymouth to assess the damage from the air. First stop, Talland Bay, west of Looe in Cornwall. Dr. Telfer's looking for the telltale scars where the path lies newly buried under soil and rock. And he soon finds them.
There are at least 2 or 3, maybe 4 recent scars down along there. So in this case, it's not just a single failure that we're looking at by the looks of things. Oh, and there's a scar that's taken out the path. It's actually relatively high up on the slope. What's failing and being brought down across the coast path here is the much more recent, the much younger geological material, which is referred to as head. It's got big boulders in it, it's got fine material in it. It's a real jumble of material.
And it's the rain that's to blame. The force of all that water in the ground, pushing the land's surface layers apart.
As the water saturates the sediment and the rock around here, it increases the pressure of the water in the pores in the rock, and effectively the sediment, the rock, becomes buoyant and slides off.
We continue east towards Plymouth, and just past Looe discover a dramatic indication that things here too are on the slide.
We've got a whole series of trees being tilted in the centre of the view down there. That's one of the, I suppose, the classic early warning signs that a failure is about to happen or is in the process of happening.
Further on to Seaton, and more evidence that the coast is crumbling. Properties close to this failing slope have had a close call. And here, an even closer one. At Port Wrinkle, Dr. Telfer spots another sign of trouble in the car park.
Here we have tension cracks opening up, running right through. The fact that it's tarmacked or not makes no difference, but we have to recognise that these are dynamic environments. They always have been, they always will be, and that this landscape is still evolving.
Over in South Devon, some parts of the coastline aren't so much evolving as dissolving, causing a problem for Robin Toogood. He looks after the Southam stretch of the coast path. At Lannacombe, part of the route has collapsed. It's caused a diversion of more than 2 miles inland.
Sometimes when you get a coast path fall, if it's in a field or something like that, you just walk round it and it's not a problem. There's an instant solution. But in a situation like here, where the cliff falls and you're up against somebody's garden wall or a house or something like that, it becomes much more complicated because you can't just end up putting a new path through somebody's garden. In legal terms, it's very straightforward. You've got a public right-of-way, it falls into the sea, the public right-of-way disappears with it. So to find a new route for the path further inland involves legal diversion orders, creation agreements, all sorts of paperwork. And I think what we want to do is to make sure we kind of move through all that, the bureaucratic side of it, as quickly as possible.
Today, Robin's meeting the local landowners who hold the key to the rerouting of this stretch. It's the start of what could be a long negotiation. It's hoped the new route will cross Anthony Vale's small holding.
Well, you can't go down under the cliffs and along the beach from Lannacombe unless the tide's out. It's an important recreational route. So we're going to do our bit, working with Robin at South Hams and Devon County Council, Rights of Way people, adjoining landowners, the National Trust, who are my neighbours, and we will achieve, shall we say, some continuity of the South West Coastal Footpath. But it can't be done in 5 minutes. We've got to think about it very carefully.
Even with Mr Vale's goodwill, the diversion here could be in place for months.
Regardless of all that land ownership and the legal side, you've just got the physical practicalities of you may have to cut a route through loads of scrub, of bushes, and then, okay, you can't do that in the bird nesting season, you can only do it at particular times of year, or the ground might be still unstable, or, you know, there's all these other factors, and it adds up to a lot of money and a lot of work.
Back in the air, and Dr Telfer is at Whitsand Bay. These slopes were formed by an ancient landslip, which is again on the move. Cracks threaten the chalets below, as well as the coast path above.
It illustrates beautifully this dilemma that we have, in that we love living and working and being able to visit these beautiful locations, but we do have to bear in mind as well that we have got widespread evidence of cliff failure along this section here, and that once it's occurred, it is, I'm afraid, going to keep on occurring.
So why has this winter seen the biggest number of landslips in recent memory? Could it have something to do with the drought of last winter?
The change from the very dry early part of the year to the very, very wet late part of the year may have opened out cracks, which when we subsequently saturate the landscape again, act as points of weakness.
But it's not just the geology that's under pressure. Cracks have appeared too in the path's finances. Natural England, the government agency that looks after national trails, has cut the path's maintenance grant by 30%, from more than £600,000 to less than £500,000. Steve Church represents the 6,000-strong membership of the South West Coast Path Association.
We would urge Natural England to ensure that emergency funding is available for situations like this. The actual money involved from a national point of view is it's less than peanuts, it's crumbs of peanuts, and yet the response that we get from that, this path brings in 300 million a year to the southwest. That's a fantastic return for Natural England's input of about 300,000. The return is enormous, let's put it that way. It's a health asset, for goodness sake. It's the green gym writ large. It's something that you couldn't possibly reproduce in any other way like that. And for the minute sums that are available in order to ensure that that's always the case, we would urge Natural England, please come and join us. We're doing our bit. The local authorities, Natural Trust are doing their bit. Please, can you join us as well?
It could cost as much as £300,000 just to repair this winter's damage. Money that Natural England says isn't available this financial year. But it says it will do all it can to find additional funding in the future. Until then, significant sections of this unique and uniquely vulnerable national treasure will be off limits.